Count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
Oh, yeah, that's their mahi, boys. That's their mahi.
Kia ora whānau and welcome to Around the Grounds, a podcast from New Zealand Rugby bringing you closer to our national game. Ever wanted to take on Dan Carter in a kicking comp? Well, this June you get the chance as DC has created the event Beat Dan Carter. To talk about how to beat DC and some of his grassroots rugby memories is the big man himself. Welcome to the studio, DC.
Thank you, Roundy.
Mate, I could beat you in a kicking comp, but we'll get to that in a bit. Like, firstly, what's going on? Like, you see you around a little bit and, yep, you're involved in, still have a presence at some of the All Blacks games or away at the World Cup and that sort of stuff. But what's happening post-rugby life? You know, I know you're a father, a busy man, but, you know, what takes up your days?
4 children, pretty much. Yes.
Oh.
So I feel like I'm an Uber driver for them come the weekend, but it's a lot of fun. And to be honest, when I was playing professional rugby, you know, you're travelling, you got a pretty serious commitment. Your weekends are gone. Part of you kind of puts your family second. I know that sounds really bad saying that, but you know, I was on this journey of trying to achieve greatness and you know, special things in my rugby career. So now that I'm navigating some change in my life and finished playing rugby and hung up the boots, it's actually quite nice to be there and actually be able to drive them to their rugby and football and futsal games that they play, and also to help out their coaching and just be around a lot more. So that's keeping me busy. A bit of sponsorship work, and also something I was really passionate about when I finished playing was, you know, this life that my family and I live, actually using rugby to sort of help set us up, using rugby and sport on my profile to give back to, you know, whether that's mentoring, whether that's philanthropic work, you know, working with charities. I even sort of set up my own fund as well, the DC10 fund. So, yeah, in amongst all those things, it's, you know, my days have kept pretty busy.
I can imagine it is, instead of sort of having that single focus and obviously, you know, being well behind the credits to the missus, there's many things that you need to do. But, you know, do you enjoy it, mate? You know, I can imagine massively different, but I'm sure your parents were hugely supportive and a big part of your life growing up and supporting you in all the things that you did. I'm sure they were a taxi service for you as well. So it's quite nice now to go full circle and kind of be there. Do you have good chats in the car on the way home around, you know, the kids' sports games or the day at school? You know, what have you got to offer, mate?
Yeah, it's I guess since I finished playing, I find myself in the sort of more high performance. I wrote a book, The Art of Winning, around sort of performing under pressure, and I'm constantly having to remind myself that they're just children. Okay, they're not professional athletes, and my wife Anna played, you know, for the Black Sticks hockey team, and sort of my career, the last thing we want to do is put any pressure on our children. Yeah. So one thing that we firmly agree on, that they're playing sport. Exactly what sport we're pretty relaxed with, whether it's rugby, soccer, hockey, they play tennis, they play everything, and we want them at their age. So our eldest is 11, and we just want to introduce them to lots of different sports, like the joy that they get from sport, the camaraderie, all the values that you learn from sport are really important. But, you know, the thing that I learned from my parents is just to make sure that you're there and supportive. You're not pushing them in any direction they don't want to go. You just make sure that they're happy and you're there to support them. So that's pretty much, you know, my role at the moment with my kids.
Mate, I love that. Is there there's got to be a handy left foot in the family somewhere though, doesn't there? Like, how could there not be, surely?
Yeah, two lefties and 2 right footers at the moment. So
Okay.
it's an even balance. But like my old man taught me, you need to kick with both.
Yeah,
so you might have a prominent leg, but it doesn't mean that you forget about the other one.
I like that. Kick with both, pass with both. That's awesome. Hey, what's your connection to the game at the moment? Like, is there anything official? Like, I know I've seen you at different times come in and do a bit of work with the All Blacks, you and Rich and some of the players from yesteryear. Like, do you do anything locally? I know you're living up here in Auckland in the 09, so you're a little bit further away from Southbridge or Christchurch Boys or Ellesmere College or some of your old stomping grounds. But, you know, what's your connection to the game now?
Pretty simple, really. Like the most people listening to this podcast is just a fan of the sport. still having, conversations, some good friends like, Scott Robinson, Leon McDonald, Jace Ryan, pretty close to guys like that. So I'm still having rugby conversations whenever I talk to them and get a little bit of an insight to how things are evolving and developing. I still love kicking, so every now and then kicking sessions, with the odd player. But Grammar Juniors is the rugby club that my kids play. So
awesome.
A lot of time down at the club rooms there. Great community feel to that club. It's just a junior club, so there's some great people in amongst that environment. So a lot of sort of Saturdays and Saturday afternoons down at the club, which is a lot of fun.
Just like yourself, mate, and there's, as a young person now, I've heard you say many times, like, you watch a game of footy these days and there's no desire to get back on the field and mix it up, but you do love kicking. Like, you still go down and have a bit of a kick, and it's really, in some ways, that's how it all started, wasn't it? Like the post in the backyard, like the old, I don't know if we can call it this, but the old 10,000 hour rule, that was certainly something that you ticked off pretty early doors. And is that where the whole Beat Dan Carter competition comes from? Is just that's probably started your passion for rugby and still sort of burns there a little bit, a 40-plus-year-old man still going down from the old kick DC every now and again?
Yeah, it's a little bit sad, really, when you put it like that.
Hey, it's awesome. It's awesome.
In your 40s and you're still down at the local club who's kicking goals with all the kids. But no, like kicking has always been a part of my life. Like you mentioned, on my 8th birthday, my father, for my birthday, got a set of goalposts and put it in the backyard, and it was the best birthday present ever because I could just go out whenever I wanted and kick goals. I didn't have to walk 200 metres to the local rugby club anymore, and I would just spend hours kicking goals. Not because I thought if I do this then I might be an All Black, but I was doing it because I love it. And that's where I sort of fine-tuned and perfected my kicking technique and skills, but I just had a real passion for it. And then obviously when I finished playing my professional career, I didn't miss, rugby. I'm not watching games going, man, I wish I was out there. So I firmly moved away from that, but I just still love kicking. Whether it's a distraction from the busyness of my life and escaping 4 children for an hour or whatever it is, but there's just something about goal kicking, taking a bag of rugby balls, putting some music on and trying to really sort of fine-tune that kicking, like still trying to perfect, trying to get the perfect kick, as with your kicking background as well. Not many people might know this, but we both played number 10 for high school old boys back in the day. But there's just an art about kicking that I absolutely love. So for me, it's like meditation. It's a place where I can regather sort of my thoughts and finish a kicking session, re-energized and ready to tackle life again.
What's the status, mate? Like you obviously are an outstanding goal kicker, the highest point scorer for the All Blacks in our history. Like, can you, go down to the G-Tech field there or someone local, stick it on the 50 metre and still drop it from halfway, no issues? Or we need to do a few stretches before we do that DC? Like, are we getting, 10 from 10 at all your favourite spots? Like, what sort of nick are you in? Don't be humble, mate. Let us know. Let us know.
No, I'm laughing because you mentioned 50 metres, and that's a bit of a stretch these days.
Yeah,
so
I never had
watching
it.
The likes of Geordie Barrett and Dame Mackenzie Slotner from 60 metres, it's like, that was the good old days. So a lot of warming up.
Yeah.
It's something I've noticed. Like, just every time I'm warming up, I'm just so stiff, and that's just an age thing. So. Geez, you just reminisce about the days where you just get a bag of rugby balls and just kick straight away. And I see my kids do it all the time. Like, come on, guys, you got to warm up. And they're like, no, I don't. I was like, you kind of do.
I used to laugh at all the old guys. He used to be like, we're still stretching, mate. We'll be over soon. I'd be like, what are you doing, lads? Just let's get going. But now I completely understand.
That's me. So a good warm up is key to any kicking session. And then I don't like to see. I don't like to go too far or angles too early, so I need to warm up.
Sure.
A few nice easy kicks, work on my technique before I start to go out. But
that's growth, mate. That's wise.
Yeah, no.
But still hitting them pretty good. Like, still the same Dan Carter tee. You're not changing up with any of these modern lean it forward carry on.
No.
It's still how you've always done it.
Very low super tee. I have experimented with others, but I just always go back to what you know.
Because the super tee actually would be. you don't see many of them anymore, to be honest. Like you and Mertz, you sort of had that low style. These days, the modern kick is very much up a bit higher, got that sort of, pointed straight style or whatever it is, But you've stayed true to what you know.
I have, yeah. Richie Mo'unga, he had the low T as well.
Yeah.
We're a dying breed. But no, I keep things very simple, and I've lost a bit of distance, but I'd like to think my accuracy is still there.
Nice. Mate, let's talk about Beat Dan Carter event. Like, just what's it all about? Like, I know you sort of started this journey, with sort of your record-setting attempt at Eden Park. Is this an evolution of that, and is this maybe just by having a look at it and seeing all the information come through now, is this a way to involve more people maybe? Yeah,
absolutely. So 2 years ago, I launched my own fund called the DC10 Fund, and we partner with UNICEF. So I've been a UNICEF ambassador since 2016,
Nice.
And I've been to field trips and seen the impact that their work has on underprivileged children all around the world. And there's a part of me that always wanted to do more, but through my rugby schedule, I just couldn't. So when I finished playing, I set up the DC10 Fund and partnered with UNICEF, because as an ambassador, you often had to advocate for whatever the issues were around the world. But with my own fund, I could handpick which UNICEF projects I could advocate for and raise money for. So 2 years ago, that fund launched, the DC10 Fund launched, and we wanted to launch it with a bit of impact. So I was like, look, my passion for helping underprivileged children, my other passion, kicking goals, let's bring them together and let's kick as many conversions as I can in 24 hours. So it was a pretty crazy concept. So that's where the kickathon came from. So Eden Park.
Remind us how we went there. Like there was, how'd you go? Did you get through it? Like did the body hold up? How many did you get done? Who joined you? Like, can you remember? Or did you black out?
No. I survived the 24 hours. I had some serious strategy and behind it, so I knew I just couldn't kick non-stop for 24 hours. So I broke it up to 45-minute windows. So I'd kick for 45 minutes, then have 15 minutes to refuel, maybe get a bit of physio work, talk to some of the guests or sponsors that were there, and then I'd do that again. So I kicked just over one kick a minute, so 66 kicks an hour. And I had a little target in mind. It was 1,598, which is obviously how many
points you scored.
Test points I scored for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
So I hit that number with like 30 seconds to go. It was fantastic. But as challenging as it was, what was really driving me was on the big screen at Eden Park. I could see the donations coming in.
Awesome.
So all of a sudden I was doing it for something that was much bigger than myself. Yes, I love kicking, but I knew that the impact that this was having on children in the Pacific Islands. So the project that I picked was to help provide clean water for children in the Pacific. So it's a UNICEF WASH program, which stands for Water, Hygiene and Sanitation. So basically going into the most remote parts of the Pacific Islands and going to medical centres and schools and providing clean water for those facilities, bathrooms, sanitation, hygiene facilities, because it's one of the leading causes of death for children under 5 in the Pacific Islands is through disease because of not having access to clean water, something we take for granted here in New Zealand.
Totally.
So as these donations were coming in, it was inspiring me to keep going, keep pushing.
Okay.
And it just blew me away, the support that I got from people all over New Zealand, all over the world, in fact. And we managed to raise over $500,000 for these children in the Pacific.
Yeah, good.
And it was a pretty special event. But I wanted to do something that connected more with the community and try and reach all different parts of New Zealand to help them feel involved in my next fundraiser. And that's exactly how the evolution of Beat Dan Carter came from. Yes, I'm a little bit older now and probably can't kick for 24 hours, so I can kick for an hour.
Okay.
And I'll kick as many as I can in 1 hour and then challenge the rest of New Zealand to try and take me on. So that's exactly what the Beat Dan Carter challenge is.
All right, so that's the mechanic. We go along, what is it, the beatdancartersite.com, sign up there, participate as an individual, as a team. You can sign up your junior team, your senior team, whatever it may be. And sort of talking off camera a little bit, like there's a bit of strategy to it, eh? It's one ball, one tee, is that right?
Yeah, so something I learned through the kickathon, if you lay out a whole lot of rugby balls, you can actually kick them pretty quickly. So not everyone has access to a big bag of rugby balls, so I wanted to keep an even playing field.
Yep.
So you can use one ball, one kicking tee, and you have 1 hour to kick as many kicks as you possibly can, and you can compete against me either individually. So I'm sure there's a few people out there that want to try and take me on and beat me.
I'll have a go. Yep.
Or you can sign up your team.
Cool.
So up to 15 people, and you can work a bit of a strategy of actually who kicks when, just to share the workload. But the most important thing about this, and to be honest, it's a competition, but it's just about getting outside, getting down to the local park, finding some goalposts, having fun is the biggest priority of this, and also getting people in behind you, whether that's your family, friends, your community, to then sponsor you, and so you can go on a fundraising campaign to raise as much money to help provide clean water for these children in the Pacific, and that's effectively what it's all about. It's a great way for rugby clubs and rugby teams to really sort of connect and do something to help make a difference to people less fortunate over in the Pacific Islands.
I love it, and let's be honest, a young Dan Carter would be into this, wouldn't he? He'd be taking on an old Dan Carter straight away, and it's sort of that thing. I'm sure it's something that you've realised now, that actually a little can go a long way, isn't it? Whether it be helping people less fortunate, because the great thing about the Pacific Island as well is they love rugby. It's a place you've played against so many awesome Pacific rugby players over the year, played against the national team, so there's a great connection there. And also, I think probably, surely you realise this today, that just, such a small thing to a young person can make a real difference. If you get to meet one of your heroes or get to somehow interact with them, is pretty cool. So it's a great opportunity to do that. And are you maybe going to get out to a couple of the clubs that win or do something along those lines as a part of the promotion? We've got to sign up before June the 3rd, and it takes place between the 3rd and the 17th. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Basically, you've got until June the 17th to
get it done.
To get it done, but there is a 2-week period where you take on the challenge. So it was really important for me to really come up with some great incentives. I actually want to get out to the clubs. I want to get out and meet some of the individuals that sign up at beatdancarter.com. So a lot of prizes. So if you sign up at beatdancarter.com, and if you fundraise $50 in the first 48 hours, you get a free kicking tee.
Happy days.
If you fundraise up to $300, you get a brand new Beat Dan Carter Adidas rugby ball.
Awesome.
$500, I'll sign an Adidas rugby ball, and you'll be sent that. Personal video messages, $200 Adidas vouchers, a lot of those are going around that will randomly pick some clubs and individuals. But there is the incentive of where I'll go out and you can win a one-on-one kicking session with myself. So I'm giving away 3 of those. It's available anywhere in New Zealand, whether it's down to Bluff or Picton or Kaitaia, wherever it is. I will come along and take a kicking session. So a lot of incentives, and really passionate about getting out to the community and helping the people that supported the DC-10 Fund and UNICEF and those children in the Pacific. So all the information is at beatdancarter.com. You sign up. And once you do sign up, you go on this journey of receiving a whole lot of content from me. So a whole lot of tips around kicking, like how to actually kick, the importance of nutrition, what I like to eat before a game or a training session, importance of warm-up, some exercises that I do, like why am I doing this for these children in the Pacific. So a whole lot of training videos that you get sort of inner access to just by signing up.
So great content to help you on the journey for the comp, but also just great content for your rugby season, which is all our grassroots teams are into at the moment. So what a great spot, mate. I want to sort of talk a little bit about all these different community environments and young people that are going to be taking on this challenge. Talk a little bit about your journey, as you said at the start, posts up at 8 o'clock, when you're 8 years old, Big Nev put them out on the backyard in Southbridge. Who are your favourite players growing up, and maybe who were some of the the well-known players of the time who made a little impact on you, even though they probably didn't know it, But is there little things you remember, posters on the wall? I had the John Schuster Mars poster on the wall. He was awesome. John Gallagher. Were there people for, similar sort of experiences for yourself as a young person?
There was. And, I was around rugby my whole life.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually play until I was 6. But I remember when I was 5, and I don't remember a lot when I was 5 years old, but I remember this. There was the Rugby World Cup, 1987. Yes, I'm showing my age here. And the All Blacks and the opening game played Italy. And Italy kicked off. One of the All Blacks caught it. They passed it to Sir John Kirwan, who ran the length of the field, beat about 10 or 11 players and scored the most incredible try that I've ever seen. I went straight to the backyard and I was trying to be JK. I was scoring tries.
100%.
The All Blacks, they went on to win the World Cup. So the likes of Sir Michael Jones, the final winning captain, David Kirk, holding that memory of him holding the William Webb Ellis Cup ahead. Something was ingrained in me that day. I was like, I want to be an All Black. I want to be just like John Kirwan, Michael Jones. These were new heroes of mine because of that Rugby World Cup. And then through my teenage years, there was the Jonah Lomus, the Andrew Mertons. So I had all their posters on my wall and just wanted to be an All Black just like them. So they were my role models. The weird thing was, when I was, sitting in the same changing room as some of those guys, they had Mert sitting next to you, and I'm like, oh my God, if only you knew that I actually had posters, and I still have posters of you on my wall. So it was pretty special. So as a young kid, they were the people that I used to idolise.
Mate, look, the whole thing, which I really love what you said before around, this is just a great opportunity to get a group of mates, whether it be your team or guys you kick around with, get outside, have a bit of fun, rip into something. You did a heap of your time at Southbridge Rugby Club, Ellesmere College, Christchurch Wills High School. You still connected with those guys. There's some memories from those days that's still good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be, is because, you went on to great heights, but, quite often it's those first teammates and those first best mates are sort of the things that you may remember really, really well. And I'm sure even, dare I say, maybe even Dan Carter, who played X amount of games for the All Blacks, has an amateur game that he still looks back on and is disappointed about, or has some regrets about, not just some of the ones in the black jersey. You didn't lose too many in the black jersey either. So
no, a lot of fantastic memories from my club days, from junior rugby, my very first team, the Southbridge Midgets. One of the things, I look back on my career, and one of the things I'm really proud about was my first game of rugby was for Southbridge, and my last ever time I strapped on the boots was also for Southbridge. It's
pretty cool.
Did a full evolution, and a lot of good footy and some pretty special teams along that journey in between. But I'm really proud of the club that I started at in Southbridge, and still really have really firm roots, and mum and dad still live in Southbridge, still very well connected with the club. Even just last week, Southbridge Rugby Club, they had their club day, and they made it a Pacifica Day, where they celebrated all the different Pacific Island sort of nations that they had. They played in special jerseys that they auctioned off after the game. They made $5,000 for the DC-10 fund.
Oh, wow.
So they're all drinking kava in the club rooms afterwards. The Tongan players are up, sort of, Tongan songs and Samoan dancing and everything like that. It was a real celebration, and I think that's the real strength of the community game, is it really does bring people together. So Southbridge is a farming community.
Was Big Nev played there? Was he a good footy player? I know he's pretty much worn every hat at the club over the years. Was that where you went from when you were 5 years old and he gave you a couple of bucks for a bag of chips and a Coke, and then you go outside in the dark and kick goals, like it was for so many of us,
Yeah, every Saturday from 8 o'clock in the morning until late at night. I was down at the club rooms, and I always used to put the flags out around the fields. There's 3 rugby fields out there, and the goalpost pads on. And if I did that job and collected them at the end of the day, I'd get a free Moro bar and a can of Coke, and I was over the moon with that. So your dad played senior rugby there. Even in my last game that I ever played for Southbridge, they gave me a blazer, and I became a life member. And I'd only played I think maybe I've only played 6 or 7 games for Southbridge through my career, and my father presented it to me. Ooh. And he played over 300. And he's looking at it and they're like, oh my God, they're giving these away these days. It took me 300 games to receive one of these. You played 7. Here you're getting a life membership.
Good.
Yeah, so even then he's given me plenty of banter. But, you know, I kind of reminded him how many test matches did he play, and it wasn't many. So
yeah, that probably shut that down pretty
quick. But it was, Southbridge is a really special place. A lot of great memories there. And you talked about, is there any bad memories? I remember my very first game for the senior team was in 2009, coming back from an Achilles injury that I had over in France. And we played in Hornby, and I was like, right, I'm gonna kick the goals, and often at club rugby the balls aren't the best balls. Yeah, correct. It's just whatever's there on the day. They can be old, a couple of years old, flat.
And you had the good life for a while, DC, and had all the good balls and gone and tested them at Adidas and done all the good stuff, hadn't you, on the flat fields and
so I wanted to control what I could control. So I went straight to Foxy, who was the Crusaders baggage man, and I was like, look, I need 4 perfect new balls. So
this is Tom Brady behaviour, mate. Yeah, carry on.
So I took them. I took them to the game. I was like, we've got to play with these balls. These 4 balls are perfect. They're good. It's going to help the game, everything. So I line up my first kick just to the right of the upright, and the goalpost. The uprights aren't that tall, but I kind of slightly hooked it, and I felt like it went over the upright. So it was touch and go whether they're going to, raise the flags or not.
Should be money from there, Daniel.
It should be, and they waved it away. Unsuccessful kick.
Oh, brutal.
So I went on and missed my next 4 kicks.
Did you?
So here I am with these brand new rugby balls. I'm 0 from 5.
I didn't know this.
And 0 from 5 in this big game. There's a big crowd there watching. Thankfully we won. But I remember the last play of the game. I made this break, and there's this guy chasing me. And he was he wouldn't give up. And I was like, I need to score under the post to get at least 1 kick. So I was sprinting. I managed to get round under the post, scored the try, just so I can have an easy conversion. Yeah. Anyway, I took it back. Final play of the game was me. I finally kick a conversion. 1 from 6. I get a standing ovation. Oh my God, he finally got a kick.
Club footy.
Yeah.
There it is.
And
that'd be your worst kicking performance ever.
It was horrible. It was horrible. Who was this guy?
You can't even make an excuse around the balls or anything. You bought your own balls.
I know.
It's being their behaviour. Mate, look, that's awesome. And I suppose too, one thing I really wanted to really make a point of for the listeners, and particularly the young people, is probably your first goal was just to play for Southbridge, was it? Like going down there every day, of course, watch the Rugby World Cup and want to be an All Black, and seeing JK and Foxy and Michael Jones and these legends. And like you say, to win a World Cup in our backyard, the inaugural one, how good. But probably as a young fella, your first thing was I just want to play for the senior team. Was there sort of even players in that team that you looked up to, and when you come full circle, it's probably a place you're very proud to be a part of.
Yeah, it was always a dream to play for the All Blacks, but growing up in this little country town, I never actually thought it would happen. There was one All Black that came from Southbridge, Albert Anderson. He was actually part of the 1987 team. Yeah, so he was a bit of a hero around the club. Used to idolise him. Couldn't believe we had this All Black from this little community, but it kind of gave me, some inspiration. Actually, well, maybe All Blacks can, come from little towns, but I wasn't out on the rugby field every day because I thought that was a difference to making All Black. I was out there having fun. I just wanted to be a part of my club, and I was an okay player. Never really played at a high level until my second to last year at school. So I went to a little country school called Ellesmere College. Yeah. We played in the South Island competition. I played for the Hannon Shield selection team. Yeah. And I got selected for the South Island team, schoolboys team, which was a huge achievement for someone from Ellesmere College.
It'd be massive from someone from country school.
Yeah, it was. And I was like, I don't really know why they selected me or what I'm doing here.
Fullback, what were you up to then? Kicking goals?
I covered a few different positions, actually, from fullback to first 5. Yep. Played a lot of halfback as well back then, but mainly first 5. So I was like, well, maybe I am okay at this rugby thing. Yeah. So my last year at school, my mate Ben Jones from Ashburton College, we went to
loves kicking a goal as well. He'll take you on, surely, Jonesy.
For distance, 100%
good
accuracy.
Little bit wishy-washy. Yeah, but long.
Very long. Yeah, big boot on him and Doug Tarselli. Oh, my God. Now
Massive.
you're behind the 50 metres with those boys.
Oh, my God.
So we went into Christchurch Boys High, a really proud rugby school down in Christchurch. I was like, right, this is going to be my first stepping stone to playing professionally and trying to be like an All Black and like my role models.
No, big games, weren't they? Like the game against College, like for a young fella, big game. You know, the game against Beads, the game like Nelson College. These are big games, aren't they, for a young man who's just come from Southbridge, you know?
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't handle the pressure at all. I remember walking down the hallway and seeing all these photos of these heroes of mine and former All Blacks, and you walk down a bit further and there's all these trophies, and the pressure got to me too much. And I had one of the worst years that I've ever had, and I was playing for the wrong reasons. I was playing because I thought that I could be an All Black, and I forgot why you play the game. It's just to have fun, enjoyment. I took it far too seriously. So my first year out of school, a lot of boys from Christchurch Boys High, they then go into high school old boys. Yeah. So they asked, can you come play senior rugby for high school old boys? And I was like, no. After the year I had last year, I was like, no, I've lost the love for the game.
Wow.
I'm just going to go play with my mates. Yeah. So those boys we talked about, some of them, they went to senior level, but a whole lot of core group of us just went and played Colts rugby, like social rugby for a year at high school old boys, and I fell in love with the game again. I started playing well, and it reminded me of why we play the game. It's just for fun. So I actually had the early club years outside of school was for high school old boys, and obviously that's where I got to know you and had some great success there, and got to play alongside some great All Blacks that back then would play for the All Blacks, then come back and play club rugby on a regular basis. So that was pretty cool having that experience, and then it was 2007. Before the World Cup, we had a conditioning window where we didn't play the first half of Super Rugby, so the Southbridge senior team were about to fold and go down to Div 2.
Shit.
And I was like, oh, geez, that's where my roots are. That's right. So I returned and I helped coach them that year.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it was tough. we didn't have a great year, bottom of the table.
Yeah.
But we started to get some more numbers to the club, and it helped me reconnect with the club because I'd been at high school old boys, through the first part of my professional career, and it just reminded me of all the things I love about the community game. And then 2 years later, I was missing a whole lot of kicks for them in my first senior game, but that was a really special moment, actually going back and playing my first game for the club and having that connection.
A little bit nervous, like playing, even though it was senior club rugby. Like I've talked to Rich about it, and he was like, I was a little bit nervous when I played for Christchurch, because people are going to have a crack at you as well. Like they want to, don't want to let you to dominate too much. And I mean it's a great point you make. You made it a couple of times, like around. It's the most beautiful thing in New Zealand rugby is that sometimes on any given weekend, and I've said this on many pods, that a weekend warrior like myself can play an All Black, because, at one stage there, probably because you had kicked him out, to be honest, mate, Mertz wasn't in the All Blacks. So he came back and played 2 months for old boys. He'd come to training and I would train with Mertz, and he was a top man and he just was one of the lads and shared a bit of stuff with you. Reuben Thorne, same thing. And for Southbridge, at that time when the club needed it, a current All Black came back and played for them. That's pretty cool. That doesn't happen in the NFL or English Premier League, that sort of stuff. It's a unique part of New Zealand rugby, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very special. And you can talk to any All Black and they have an affiliation with their club. Yeah. And they just speak with just real pride of where it all begun. And for me, that was Southbridge. So to know that I was able to go back and play a few games for them. In fact, I was able to play a few games in 2014 when I had a non-playing sabbatical, because I got to play a few games for them then. And then also to finish my career through the pandemic was great. So, mate, it is a real strength of New Zealand rugby, and, a beautiful country, and, getting back out to the grassroots is something any professional player loves.
100%, and good luck to Southbridge this season. There's a few quick questions from the audience to finish, mate. We'll let you go. Busy man, you've probably got to get out and have a kicking session. But where's your first All Black jersey? And do you remember being named in the team, and where and when that happens? It's always a bit different for everyone.
It's a strange one, my first one, because I've actually got 4 jerseys from that game. So I played first 20 minutes, my jersey got ripped. So I was playing number 12. So they took the jersey off and ended up getting fixed, but Adidas wanted to go see why it ripped. So then my replacement we didn't have second jerseys. So I had a number 26. So I had number 26. So I played the rest of my debut in number 26. I got that jersey as well. And then you only get one jersey for your test match, except for your first one in case the other team wants to swap. So I had a replacement one to swap. But Steve Hansen was the coach of Wales, who we were playing against my first game, and he made the number 12 give me their jersey without receiving one. Wow. Just as a
nice
sign of respect. So all of a sudden I had 4 jerseys, a Welsh one and 3 All Black ones, 2 number 12s and a number 26.
That's quite cool to be so unique for your first one, to have a bit
original.
of a
The original, it's all sewn up, and that sits at the club rooms at Southbridge. So they built this big glass memorabilia section of the club. It has a lot of my jerseys. Where was I when I got named? Back then, they used to name the team on the radio. So
you are old.
Yeah, that's showing my age. And I never actually thought that I was going to make the All Blacks. It was my first year for the Crusaders. Just started playing professional rugby. A lot of better players out there. So I was in a costume shop trying to find a costume for an end of season function that the Crusaders were having.
You've actually got a really impressive dress-up ensemble, don't you, over the years that you've built? That's a whole other pod, but you do. You put a bit of effort into this stuff.
Yeah, you know too much. But yes, I do. I do love costumes, and had a whole wardrobe that I had to get rid of when we started having children. But like you said, it's another story. So I walked out of the costume shop with my Spider-Man or Superman, I can't even remember, costume that I was going to wear, and my father rings me, because he listens to every All Black announcement on the radio for the last 40 years of his life, and he goes, "You made it." I'm like, "Made what?" Goes, "You made the All Blacks." I'm like, "Mate, that's a bad joke. You can't be joking stuff like that to your son." And I thought he was just winding me up. So no, seriously, you made the All Blacks. So he was the first person to tell me that I'd made the All Blacks.
That's cool, isn't it?
Finished the conversation with him, and then my phone just went ballistic. So yeah, it was pretty special way to find out by Neve telling me.
Mate, that is awesome. There's without getting into it too much, best player played with and against, like there's so many, but if you had to single out a couple that it was great to play with and perhaps gave you a few headaches, when they're in the opposition jersey.
It's hard to go past Richie.
Yeah.
So we had sort of similar careers. We played a lot of our professional career together. He started a couple of years before me, but similar paths, and we just bonded extremely well. He trusted me, and I learnt so much from him around sort of professionalism, leadership, values. He was just such a fearless leader, and really inspirational to play so closely to him and just see him putting his body on the line sort of week in, week out. And
captain and 10 and all that sort of stuff as well. It's a pretty important sort of connection within the team, and in many ways you guys are different, but you're also quite similar. You're both very driven. You're both probably fed off each other a wee bit, so huge amount of trust in each other, which was pretty cool. What about fellas who maybe gave you a few headaches? You played some cracking players, over the years, so many, but is there anyone that you look back and think, that guy's a pest?
There's a lot of annoying guys to play against. But no, this one's a bit different. It was my first game for Canterbury at the NPC, so I'd never played. My first NPC game, and it was against Wellington at the Cake Tin, and there was a player sitting on the bench, and his name was Jonah Lomu.
Oh.
And he, about 30 minutes to go, I look across, and he's warming up. And then he runs on, and I was like, oh no. And I think I was playing first 5 or second 5, and there was a scrum, right-hand side of the play. He's blindside winger, and I can just see him coming around the corner. So your number 9, I think it was Spicy, passes to Jonah, and he just lines me up. And I was like, oh, here we go. I've always, seen the images of Mike Catt and all the other people that
you're just
run
some
over.
new young punk to him at the time, aren't you? He doesn't. It's not Dan
year old.
Carter. It's just some fresh piece of meat that he's going to roll over the top of.
And he rolled over top of me. Absolutely. Closed my eyes. I was like, maybe he'll fall over me.
You're a good tackler too.
He completely just bumped me off. And that was my first and only time I got to play against the great man, and still gutted to this day that I wasn't able to play alongside him because I idolised him so much. He transformed the game, and really, really special human.
Never has and never will be anyone like the big man, I don't think, will they, no matter what happens in rugby. If it wasn't rugby, DC, what would you be doing? If you hadn't become a professional rugby player, what would you be doing?
I tried my hand at a few various things before playing rugby professionally, and where I gravitated to, and I never actually finished my course, something in the sort of health and wellness space. So I was training to be a personal trainer.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows? Could be working in a gym, training people.
Yeah.
But something, just realise how much I love sort of health and fitness.
Exercise and
So potentially a personal trainer.
Mate, no attraction into some of this endurance stuff that Rich does. Like, he's a sick unit and he does these coast to coast and these 48-hour events, and because he also loves, like staying fit and healthy. Or is it a different fit and healthy for you, mate?
Yeah, it's a different fit and healthy.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
He's wired a little bit differently to most people. But him and Kieran Reid and guys that are doing, these ultra
banging out the Ks, aren't they? These boys.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Mate, most famous person in your contacts. You've been around, like in your professional career. You've actually been very fortunate to meet all sorts of pretty cool people, haven't you? Like, I won't go through all the stories, but I do love the Bill Belichick story in your book around the Patriots. Look it up if you haven't read Desi's book. But most famous person in your contacts?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of very famous people, but I don't have any of their phone numbers. I don't ask for their phone numbers. It's a bit weird. I don't know, to be honest.
Ben Hurst, probably.
Ben Hurst,
Richie McCaw.
Between Ben Hurst or
Ben
Richie
Jones,
McCaw.
Doug Tarselli, Richard McCaw, one or the other. I like it. Mate, very humble. Last question, mate. Best player on tour, on why? Like, over the years, the tours got less and less in terms of being those sort of traditional tours that you and me grew up watching, which were pretty cool. But who was always a good tourist, a good man, probably to break things up with a little bit, because Test footy can be pretty intense, I can imagine. So you'd always have a couple of fellas who are good company and be able to switch off with.
Not many people see this side of him, but it's Manonu.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen how destructive he is on the footy field, and I can assure you I just love playing alongside Ma, because he can steamroll guys. He's got the beautiful sort of 20-metre pass.
Yeah, totally.
He's an amazing player to play alongside, but off the field, he is one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. He's the joker of the team.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to, on a Thursday night before a test match, things get a bit tense, and he's just playing all sorts of games, from stealing, Steve Hansen or Graham Henry's phone, and them, who stole my phone? You always know it's Ma that stole it initially, but then he's kind of passed it around the team, or he's just a great sense of humour, a real joker, and just kind of brings that lightheartedness to a touring environment when you're away from home for 4 or 5 weeks. You need guys like Ma to keep things lighthearted and entertaining.
Mate, that's awesome. I've heard stories too, like that you two are close in the sense that you had total trust on him on the field as well, didn't you? Like, he would call something and you'd almost kick it to that space without looking, because it just became habitual, and obviously you guys gelled off the field as well. Mate, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Like, first and foremost, get to beatdancarter.com. Sign up. We've got those couple of weeks up until the 17th to get amongst it. Heaps of awesome prizes and incentives, but also the biggest incentive being it's going to help a bunch of people in Pacific, live a far more healthy lifestyle. And so that's awesome, DC. Thank you for coming in, mate, and also sharing a few grassroots stories of a young DC growing up.
No problem. Yeah, great to be here on the podcast, and love everything about the community rugby in New Zealand. So it really warms my heart sharing some of my experiences as a kid, and also thank you so much for the support to the Beat Dan Carter campaign as well. It means a lot to me.
Awesome. Cheers, DC. Talk soon, mate.
Thank you.